Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Quantum Mystic podcast. And I don't know about you, but maybe this has happened. It certainly happened to me. Like, have you ever stood in front of the mirror, like looking at yourself right in the eye and saying all the affirmations you were told to do? And you still walk away wondering why the affirmations don't seem to work. They don't seem to land and actually change your life. Even though you've done all the things, you read the books, you said the words, you made the vision board, but you're still running through the old patterns in your life, right? And I think most of us come into the world of affirmations like it's our whole toolkit, like, and then we wonder what's wrong with ourselves because they're not working. And I just think that we're going to break this down for you today and talk about, when we're doing affirmations sort of the regular way we learn them, it's like your conscious mind is just talking to itself. And that's the conscious mind isn't really the problem. It's actually not where we really need the affirmations to land. They need to land in our nervous system. They need to land in our subconscious, which is holding so many of our beliefs and our thoughts and our fears and our limiting, all the things that limit us. So when your conscious mind says that you're safe, I'm worthy, I'm abundant, and the subconscious is carrying a much older program, a story about maybe you're not all those things. Whichever one has the most energetic charge, that's the one that's going to win. So the subconscious wins this argument every time. And, that's what we want to talk about, sort of getting underneath that idea and remembering that we're not just a mind with a body attached to it. We also have our physical nervous system, we have our emotions, we have our mental beliefs, we have our spiritual beliefs, we have our energetic body, we have all these different parts of us that these old programs can kind of be tucked into any one of those. And that's why when we just talk to ourselves on the mental level, we may not actually find the traction and movement that we have that we're looking for in our life. So that's what we really want to talk about today. How do we go deeper into this territory in a way where we actually get traction and change our life? So thank you so much for being here. And I'm so excited to talk about this. And it's so good to see you today, Jane.
So good to see you, Lisa, and everybody who is listening to us live. We love to see who's here. So write a comment, whether you're wherever you're listening. You can just say hi. Where are you listening from? And if you're listening on a podcast stream, thanks for being here too. And yeah, it's an interesting topic because I feel like affirmations, the word has been around for a long time. And a little bit, I don't know, for myself, it's like a little bit confusing. I feel like when I was younger, I sort of would, I know this is terrible to admit, but I would kind of roll my eyes because I was like, what are we even doing here? And not because the affirmations aren't beautiful, because they truly are. It's like, I am safe is an incredible thing to say to ourselves, or I am beautiful, or I am abundant. But that's not really the point, because when we're talking about the nervous system, if we're kind of like demanding in this way that, I am safe. Our body's not listening to our words, or our body is, it's like our body's feeling, body's feeling something different than I am safe. Our body, we might be like having our shoulders up to our ears and saying, I am safe, but we're in a like increased state of anxiety. So we're actually creating conflict within our own system. And, it's sort of like standing in front of the mirror and saying, I am abundant. But every cell in your body is remembering and thinking about like all the financial struggle you have. And so, we got to work with our entire system to create coherence here. And I'll just say, hello from Boston, Motherly Nurse. And Kathleen, hello from Maryland. Hi, guys. Hello, ladies.
That's so funny that you could kind of roll your eyes because I was on the other end of that where I was like, I had sort of this magical, wishful thinking, um, magical thinking about it. I'm like, of course they're gonna work, and then total faith in it, and then it wouldn't. I'd be like, hey, what's happening here? Why is this not working? And yeah, that's so funny that you came from the skeptical side because I came from the magical thinking side.
I love that. I love that. I wish I had. I felt horrible. I'm like, I mean, there's all these books and teachings, and everybody's talking about this thing, but I'm like, I don't buy it. It's like, what is? There's such a disconnect, and I think
Yeah,
that was probably I wasn't realizing what it was, when I was younger. Um,
yeah.
but now it's because like our nervous system doesn't necessarily speak English.
It doesn't. Oh, I want to say hi to Melanie. Melanie was at my workshop at Kripalu, so nice to see you here. Thanks for being here today, honey. Um, yeah, and I think it's so important. Like, I think we got two levels of conflict, or many levels of conflict going on here, with the conflict between what's in your conscious mind and what's in your unconscious mind. And
Right.
we know that the whatever has the most energetic charge is the one that wins. A lot of the time, that's the subconscious. So it's like sort of like driving with one foot on the gas and one foot on the brake. I really want this. And then your subconscious is like, whoa, 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 and your subconscious and your nervous system seem, look, for me, like in my system, they're more aligned.
Yeah,
If my subconscious is saying that's dangerous and bad, my nervous system's like, stop. And that's the one that's going to win because it's got the most energetic charge to it.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's interesting because, you can actually create um sometimes you can feel I feel like some people feel worse afterwards because um if affirmations I if there's a conflict within the system, right? And like I was saying, if you're saying one thing but your body feels another, you can actually increase the anxiety. Um, and and that's like the conscious mind is saying one thing, like you were saying, and the subconscious is saying another, and the nervous system. I feel like the nervous system will go with whichever one feels safest, but I feel like the subconscious generally wins.
Yeah,
Um,
same.
yeah, and
Yeah.
safe usually means, like, familiar, and familiar doesn't isn't always, like, the positive thing.
That's
Familiar.
not. It's the
Yeah,
devil, most of
yeah,
the time.
yeah,
Yeah,
and so often it will choose, like, that familiar suffering and over, like, something that's unfamiliar, which could be a feeling of peace within the system.
right.
And not because we want suffering, but because, like, our bodies actually value predictability over something that might be healthier for our system, which is
Yeah,
fascinating.
and I think we have to sort of really unwind, like, all the what's in the subconscious. Like, let's say we're doing, affirmations about abundance, which is, I think, a lot of times what people do affirmations about. And your subconscious self is holding, ideas that, money is the devil and only evil people have money, and all your parents' beliefs about money, and all, like, only terrible people want money, or whatever it is, that is, like, loaded into that subconscious self, which is sort of our beliefs that we absorb from our families, the beliefs, feelings, the past lives that you have, the legacy wounds that you have from your family just get loaded into that part of you. And it's kind of like set in stone by the time you're like 5 or 6 years old.
Mm,
And it's like, okay, so you're trying to get abundance, but the background belief is that that's the root of all evil, or you're a terrible person, then that's a lot of heavy baggage to kind of hold while that's the foot that's on the brake, right?
right, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so then it becomes almost like that spiritual bypassing ourselves, right? Where
Hmm.
we're like, why isn't and maybe have the awareness of why the affirmation's not working, but also might have no awareness and just keep telling ourselves things, and bypassing all the stuff that's going on inside of ourselves. And so this is why it becomes actually an opportunity, because it's like the body. We all have heard, there's a book called The Body Keeps the Score. I actually haven't read it, but it's a
So
great
good.
premise.
Highly recommend. Yeah, it's really
Great,
good.
great idea. But it keeps it, the body also is like keeps the doorway. It's like the body isn't ever the enemy. It's carrying all of this information and all of these opportunities. And so every like sensation or contraction or trigger or activation or any emotional reaction is information. And it's not proof, it's not proving that we're bad or wrong or broken. It's really proof that there's something there that still needs to be integrated. And
Yeah.
so when we think of it that way, the affirmation could be helping us if we are aware of all of the sensations that we're having. It could be showing us like, oh, when I say I am abundant or I feel abundance and my shoulders tighten, that's information,
Yeah, totally. Because I think like when we have that conflict inside of us, and we say the affirmation, you might, for me anyway, I can only speak for myself. I believe it for like 30 seconds and I'm like, yay. And then what happens is this like wall of resistance comes up,
That's right.
that part of me that's like, well, no, I'm not. And that's just bullshit. Or, that's true for everybody but me. That's one of my, good ones. Right. So, I think that in that resistance is where the opportunity you were talking about is, that's where we can, if we don't dig into the resistance, if we just bypass it and spiritualize it, and whitewash it, then we're not actually digging it to the what's beneath the beneath,
Yeah.
as my friend Jane would say, and and that's the opportunity to kind of clean out the systems. And I like the kind of working with the bodies, the five bodies. So what's in your physical body, that's in your nervous system, or what's your nervous system holding around that, concept of abundance. What's your emotional system? What are the feelings you have about money? What's in the mental system? What are the thoughts and beliefs, especially the underground ones? What's in your energy body, right? How is your energy flow? What happens to your chakras and your energy system when you say that? And then even spiritually, like, well, what, that's where the lineage and the past lives come in. And I think we have to sort of system check through all of those levels, and kind of investigate, clean them out, you know, go underneath and figure out what's still jammed up in there, to really, so that we're in coherence. When we're in full coherence with ourselves, all the parts of ourselves are resonating in alignment. That's when the doors open, really, and abundance actually does come to you, because that's when we are in coherence with ourselves, that's the norm. That's what should be happening, right? That's the normal sort of universal laws in action.
Yeah, and that is, if we're giving ourselves enough time to really sit with, like you said, the five bodies, and to even maybe use the affirmation as like a tool to you can say it and see how your emotional body feels. You could say it and see how your mental body feels, and sort of
Yeah.
go through as like an exercise, and see what comes up. Because like you were saying, this is sort of the quantum perspective, is like when we're talking about becoming the frequency of what we desire, but frequency isn't generated by thought alone.
Right.
Frequency is coherence. And so if we're talking about abundance, you know, we need to make sure that the coherence happens when your thoughts and your emotions and your physiology and your nervous system and your awareness are all moving in the same direction, and your actions are all moving in the same direction.
Yeah.
Um, and so, we got to get down to like am I breathing shallow? Is my body bracing for impact? Like, what is your field actually broadcasting? And then the affirmations. you know.
It's such a different way of using affirmations. It's sort of like the traditional way of using them in the spiritual world is sort of like that's the end game. Like that's the tool that
Right.
gets you there. Where what we're talking about is more, it's like the diagnostic tool that you're going to run through your system to see where the clunks are, to see
Yeah.
where things are jammed up and where you go into resistance around that. Um, and I don't think that it, especially with these big things, how we feel about love, our worthiness, deservingness, our self-worth, our you know right to have abundance. These are kind of big, like, like if you could have solved that with some positive thinking, you for 5 minutes, you would have done that a long time ago. And I think that's let's not give shame ourselves or feel like we're wrong and bad because we can't fix that with a 5-minute affirmation, or even a few months affirmation, but
Yeah.
really see it as that opportunity to really look at these foundational wounds in a way, or unprocessed traumas that are preventing us from living the life that we want to.
Right. And I
Yeah.
think now that we're sort of talking more and I'm understanding myself a little better about the old eye roll around affirmations is because they stay in the mental body. It's like the the affirmation is like very much a mental
Yeah,
practice.
that's right.
And so the difference between saying something like I am enough and actually feeling, you know, something a slightly different, more embodied, which would be like, I don't have to prove anything, or whatever it is for you, but really like feeling a bit. If you can feel I'm enough throughout your whole body, then great. That's no longer cognitive. It's actually embodied. But
Yeah.
if it just stays as information, and then it's, I mean, I feel like transformation was never about learning new thoughts. It can't be just a mental exercise. It
Yeah.
has to be about letting the body experience this new reality that we are desiring, that we're moving towards.
Yeah. Especially like the body is sort of like the last place it lands, you know what I mean? And if we're moving it through the spiritual field, the energetic field, mental field, emotional field, then we land in the physical. That's the way that the order goes of how we manifest. And then
Yeah.
when it's in the body, that's where it manifests into reality, right?
Yeah.
So we absolutely cannot bypass that. But I also feel like not, that it's important to not forget those other parts, the energetic part, the emotional part, the spiritual part, because they can also jam up the system pretty good. But that physicality, the embodiment of it, is where then it actually becomes a real thing in your life.
And I think it's
Yeah.
worth, like, if you want to um, change the question a little bit, and this might help the affirmation again. Instead of repeating I am safe, um, that can be really abstract if your nervous system is used to being, sort of in a hijacked activated mode. We can say something like, what would help my body feel 5% safer right now?
Yeah.
I just notice how that feels differently. And at the same time that you do that, we can put our feet on the floor and have a slower exhale and notice, like, relax your jaw. We could tap and say it, tapping your jaw at the same time, and look around the room and feel the chair underneath you. And that actually, those words will actually start to move through your physical system and kind of weave the magic that Lisa was talking about, that affirmations, I think, have the potential of holding.
Yeah.
But it needs a place to really land.
I love the question so much, Jane, because I feel like it plays on the actual strengths of our mind. So your mind is a problem-solving
That's right.
miracle. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And if you give it the problem to solve, like how can I feel more safe, or how can I feel more abundant, or what would being more abundant feel like in my body and in my life? And then
Yeah.
your mind's like, huh, and it starts like clunking through its problem solving, capacity will probably give you an answer for that, right?
That's right.
A useful answer for what would that feel like? What can I do to get there? Okay. Then we're using like the actual brilliance of our human minds instead of like just jamming another like piece of data into the mix, right? We're
Yeah.
harnessing the problem solving brilliance of our minds.
Yeah. Such brilliance. The processing system of our mind that, we just are really used to being in a culture that is very mind heavy. It's all very cognitive. We problem
Yep.
solve only in the mind, and we're not actually listening. We haven't been taught to listen to what our body's saying. And so this is like the invitation to bring it into the body more. And I kind of wonder, like, maybe the deeper teaching of affirmations, because like one person who I know Lisa and I both love is Louise Hay.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like the affirmation queen.
Yep.
Which I literally have
God
never
bless
used.
her.
My God bless
Yeah.
her. I've never used one of her affirmations. It's just like I told you, I roll. But I have a feeling she knew what she was doing.
She did, and she would always say, like, and may she rest in peace now, but,
Yeah,
she would always say, like, "Pick the affirmation that makes you wanna cry or throw up," you know?
exactly.
So, you pick the one that and then she would do mirror work, so you look in the mirror and say it, because I think just sort of a flippant one that doesn't really land, doesn't have that energetic charge to it, isn't going to really move the needle for you at all. But I did a long time of like doing mirror work. And I think, and she says you use your name, like, so, I think mine was something like Lisa, I love and accept you exactly as you are right now in this moment. And I would every time I was in the mirror, I would say that and this was years ago, it must have been like 20 years ago that I did this. And I would just cry and I'd be like, oh, like it was like the OG inner child work. Um, and and then I got to the point where that one didn't ring my bell anymore. And I was like, I gotta go a little deeper. Like which one, like what's the juicy one that makes me want to cry or throw up? And then I would do that one. And I found that. But I think it's because that invites you into the deeper water, invites you into the deeper territory of like, well, where are things really holding you back, or what are the beliefs that are holding you, away from that? And the other thing that she says that I feel like is true is that it all comes down to worthiness. So much of affirmation, we are not receiving or experiencing what we want in our life because on some level we don't feel worthy or deserving of it. And so a lot of her work is about unpacking all of the beliefs, programs, feelings, somatic experiences so we can feel worthy enough to create whatever it is we're trying to create in our life.
Beautiful. Yeah. And so in that way, maybe we just have been misunderstanding affirmations the whole time, or I don't know, doing it wrong. But it is that mirror work, and so brilliant to choose the one that does kind of activate you, because the affirmation, it was never meant to convince us of what we're feeling, what we're
Yeah.
actually feeling, to convince us of something else. I think it's maybe always meant to reveal where we still need love,
Yeah.
and every place in our body. When our body contracts, it isn't because we're failing. It's because our nervous system is asking, "Will you stay with me here too?" And so then that becomes that invitation, and so we're not overpowering our body, and we're not trying to shame it by saying something we don't believe, or like bypass it and drag it towards healing, because that's gonna create more of a disconnect between the body and what we're trying to do, which is heal. And so the body's not going to trust
Yeah.
us. It's not going to trust our words. It's not going to trust our actions. But
Yeah, it's kind of like that toxic positivity, you know what I mean? Like,
absolutely.
and spiritual bypassing. And I think when we head that direction, we just feel so much shame that we're still a mess. Like we feel shame or like we're a failure. I'm failing in affirmations, like, and yeah, I don't know that we have to do the real work and just let go of the magical thinking, let go of the toxic positivity,
Yeah.
and do the real thing.
Yeah, and bring curiosity instead of like a declaration, which I think is a total shift from like, I am safe declaration to invitation, which is like I'm becoming someone who trusts herself, or I'm learning what safety feels like,
Mm,
um, and maybe that's a great way to at least open the door and just notice that healing really doesn't ever happen through force. I think that it happens through relationship, especially when we're working on healing our own nervous system and our relationship with ourselves. And this is like real, true self love.
yeah, it's so good. It's so good. I also love the I'm open to the possibility.
Mm,
As sort of the front line of, the header of this of affirmation work,
yeah,
because if we're not actually open to the possibility, how
yeah,
can anything move forward from that,
yeah.
um yeah.
I wonder out there if there's any healers out there. This is also a great one for everyone on this sort of healer, psychic, spiritual journey. Because I think a lot of healers unknowingly live from the neck up, shoulders up, deeply intuitive, deeply aware, but there's often like a bypassing of the body without even realizing it. And so just the body truly is consciousness made physical, and and this is where we're going back to that resonance and coherence, and it's where like our awareness actually becomes reality. And so if our body isn't participating in the healing, our healing stays really just, again, that sort of theoretical place. um,
Hmm.
it's
You're
a
gonna you're gonna crack up about this, Jane, but in the past like week or two, I just keep dropping things on my feet, stubbing my toe. I mean, it's summer, so I walk around barefoot a
yeah.
lot, but and I'm like, oh my god, what is going on? And I after like a week, and I'm like bruised. My feet are like literally bruised all over right now. I was like, huh, maybe it means I'm not very grounded. Maybe it means like it's like I'm not in there. I'm not all the way down, and I'm a pretty grounded person, but I was like I wasn't down and fully all the way into my feet. And I've been traveling a lot, and working a lot, and I was like, oh my, I just have to get all the way in there. And as soon as I did, and I've had to do that like an affirmation, like a daily, like every 5 minutes, am I in, and then I stopped dropping things on my feet.
It's so fascinating. It's so funny. That's
Isn't it
exactly
funny?
it. Like moving too fast, well, especially traveling, because I've heard, and I totally experienced this, is that it takes 3 days because we kind of leave a part of ourselves where we were, and it takes 3 days to fully come back into our bodies,
Yeah,
and from wherever we were, for like our all the parts of ourselves to catch up with the new location.
yep,
And you've been traveling a lot, so,
yeah,
and
and I
moving
haven't had
fast.
3 days. I've been like, I like before I'm home for 3 days, not even 3 days, and then I'm gone again.
Yeah,
So I just
so you're
feel like
all
I haven't caught up with myself yet.
that's right. And so then it takes a lot more work, like you've been doing, to but isn't that great? Little reminders. You're
Yeah.
dropping stuff on your toes to be
And
like, "Hey."
pain. I'm like, pain is like a really um beautiful reminder of like, okay, I'm really it takes that to get to recognize that I'm out and to get me back in. That's kind of nuts.
No
So
more broken toes, though.
oh my God, I've broken so many toes in my life. So many.
For a very grounded person. Probably because when you're a little bit ungrounded, it's like, "What is this?"
Yeah.
For me, I've learned to operate pretty well, being like 40, 30, 35% of my body. Well, I feel like this is I don't know, this is a really good topic. I feel like we unpacked it pretty well. And you know, the bodies, this is something, all of these things are things that we talk about in our school, the Quantum Mystic School of Consciousness. And we're having a lot of fun right now with our year 3 folks and our year 2 and our new year 1 cohort that started in June. But you can always check us out at quantum-mystic.com. And we love these podcasts and hanging out with my bestie Lisa and having these conversations. Hopefully they resonated with you all, and you can always drop comments later and let us know what you think. And yeah, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you all next time.